My name is Christopher Schorr and I'm a 5th-year MD-PhD medical student. For today's video, I want to tell you about the moment, or rather moments, that compelled me to enter the field of medicine. By sharing my own story, I believe this video might help you or help others know if medicine is a choice worth pursuing. For me, as you will hear, my path to medicine wasn't quite so obvious. With that, let's just jump right in. Growing up in the suburbs of a developing Midwest city, I had a lot of summers spent with my grandfather while my mom worked. I remember these summers as some of the greatest memories of my life. Early Saturdays, we'd jump in his Ford Explorer, ride around neighborhoods looking for broken machines and parts to work on, such as lawnmowers, edgers, and boat motors. My grandfather had spent most of his life working for Ford Motor Company as a mechanical engineer. If there was ever an issue with one of our family's cars, he was the person we'd call for help, especially if it was an emergency. Throughout the week, we'd tinker with the machines we brought back to the house, accumulating into several incomplete but in-progress projects in the garage, often at the dismay of my grandmother. Watching him fix something that was broken after pulling it apart clearly left an impression on me growing up. Once we had made good work of whatever we were working on that week, him and I would wake up before the crack of dawn and drive early across the Indiana-Ohio state line to sell it at a flea market. There, people knew him by name. If you ever needed a motor, he'd have it. If you ever wanted advice, he was the person to talk to. He had many friends and his reputation was golden. He backed his work, and if there was ever an issue, he'd fix it without a second thought. We had so many stories of people throwing out their lawnmowers just because they didn't start anymore. Honestly, I think this is a bit of a lost art. It feels like we live in a world now where people don't fix things anymore. As I entered high school, it was clear that I would become an engineer. Engineering was a powerhouse field to enter at the time. I had the encouragement from a few teachers and classmates. I knew that I wanted to break apart and figure out how machines actually worked. I wanted to fix broken machines. At the time, and I'll be honest with you, medicine wasn't even on my radar. Medicine to me was just too much of a, you're sick with this, let's treat you with this. A super simple, just follow the script type of job. A to B, B to C, C to D, and you're healed. I was also a little queasy about the thought of blood. I'm not sure why I thought this was the case. It might have just been that I was a relatively healthy kid growing up, or how film portrays people in hospitals getting miraculously better simply with a magic pill. Who knows? And while this is not to say that I thought medicine was boring, in fact, it seemed pretty cool that we could look inside the body with X-ray and remove someone's pain with a pill, but I knew I didn't want to get bored of whatever career I chose. I wanted excitement, to be on the cutting edge. I wanted to work on something that I could understand completely from first principles. A field of study where I could control everything if I needed to. I could math out exactly what would happen through equations or modeling. If there was an issue, it would be 100% my fault, but if it worked, it would be 100% my credit. Medicine wasn't and isn't like that. There are so many unknowns. There's no 100% certainty in medicine. If I went into medicine at the time, it felt like I was giving my contributions over to pure chance. No models, no equations, let's just see how it works, even though we don't know how it does. I studied chemical engineering in college. I was involved in a lot of extracurriculars, including an engineering society, a fraternity, and a synthetic biology club. The summer after my first year, I joined what is called iGEM at my university, or International Genetically Engineered Machine Club. I don't really tell people this, but in reality, it was actually on campus to retake a class that I nearly failed, and this was a way for me to spend my time doing something at least worthwhile as I retook my class. Looking back, that summer was a game changer. That summer, I spent many hours helping a student-run biology lab project. The goal of the competition being to use synthetic biology to design a prototype product to assist with some type of problem in the world. With the guidance of an expert researcher in agricultural engineering, our team of 6 and I designed E. coli bacteria to degrade benzene. The purpose being we could aerosolize this bacteria and put it into the lungs of smokers or firefighters to reverse the damage from smoke inhalation. The concept was bold, exciting, and was right at the point where engineering meets a real-world problem. Obviously, there are many issues with spraying bacteria into your lungs, and this is not something that I would recommend. But it was an idea that we saw through, and this earned us a silver medal at the competition. I remember that summer sparking a hunger in me for more research. I felt useful as a college student, something I had not ever felt before. Working on something that no one had done before, fixing a problem that needed a solution. Around my second year in college, my grandfather was diagnosed with bladder cancer. I think this was actually at a time when he was still smoking, and he would later stop. And while his bladder cancer was something treatable, I remember first hearing the news over the phone and feeling a bit of shock. unsure what to do and how to help. I just wanted to understand the problem. And so I shadowed a surgeon. As my grandfather underwent surgery to salvage his bladder, I joined a surgeon on rounds in the hospital. An engineer in the hospital? What? I felt invisible. I just stood back, I watched, and I tried not to break sterile field. It was quite amazing, honestly, watching the surgeon use the Da Vinci robot to remove tumors and using sonicators to break up kidney stones. And while I shadowed that surgeon only for just 1 week, I remember feeling incredibly humbled by my misconception of medicine and how it broke. The original image of medicine that I had in my head of a patient is sick with this, treat him with that, was shattered as soon as I walked into the hospital. Medicine, I realized, wasn't a magic show. It was both an art and a science. As I listened to the residents, the fellows, and the attendings in the break lounge discuss complex cases, I realized just how nuanced treatment plans can vary. Meeting each patient with different needs, different backgrounds, different limitations showed me just how personal care needed to be. The staff and the supporting members of the hospital synergizing and working together to do one thing: fix problems. On one of my last days, the surgeon I was shadowing had me join a resident in the OR. I had absolutely no idea what was happening. I didn't know what the difference between a liver and a lung was. I stood back and I watched the resident cut through to the kidney. He pulled out something that was the size of a golf ball, dropped it in the pan, and said, "Take a look at this." It turns out it was a massive tumor. And then it hit me. This wasn't the opposite of engineering. This was engineering. It was just a different scale than I was used to. Within the last 150 to 200 years of modern surgery, we had worked out every detail to figure out how to do this surgery. What surgical angle to cut out? How much blood loss is too much? What types of chemo do we give this patient next? All to get a ball of cancer cells out of someone's body and help them live just a little bit longer. Medicine was the intersection of everything that I wanted to do. And while yes, of course, there were many unknowns, and there are many unknowns, such as how does this drug work? Will this patient survive surgery? Can we cure cancer? It felt impactful to step closer into the details of what the field had already figured out and where the field is going next. There was always something more to learn. Every page in a medical textbook was new territory for me, and that honestly excited me to my core. I knew that my journey would be a long one the moment I decided to enter medicine. It clearly isn't for the faint of heart. Years of intense studying, long hours of labor, but for me, I realized that this is the type of field that could provide me the same sense of purpose as fixing motors did for my grandfather. Fixing what's broken, but with something more profound at stake: life itself. Sustaining, protecting, and giving life are important values for me. Medicine is a way for me to do this. Everyone's journey into medicine is different, and I hope you have found some insight into this. I'd love to hear what brought you into medicine or what is bringing you into medicine in the comments below. If you're not into medicine, that's okay too. I'd love to encourage you all along the way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.